very good evening to all the aspirants. My name is Sumeet and today we'll take a session on current affairs. And till now we have covered June and July months current affairs, so now time has come to cover the first week of August. We'll dissect each and every topic related to state importance first, then we'll go to the national importance, then the international importance, and from there we'll conclude our session with the sports section. We'll dissect all the topics from government exams perspective. So let us deep dive into the subject. So the first issue which has been making a lot of rounds in our state is about the state education policy. Let us now discuss about that. The government was till now implementing NEP, National Education Policy, which was declared in 2020, and Karnataka was the first state to implement this national education policy, and it had implemented national education policy in the year 2021. You'll have to keep this thing in your mind. Now, after the coming of Siddaramaiah government, the Congress government, the government has now tried to replace this NEP with the state education policy. Now, in order to formulate the state education policy, the government had appointed a committee under the famous ex-UGC chairman, Mr. Sukhdev Thorat, right? So Sukhdev Thorat was the chairman of a committee, and Sukhdev Thorat is an ex-UGC chairman. He is an ex-UGC chairman, University Grants Commission chairman. He was a ex-UGC commission chairman of the UGC, and he was appointed as a committee under his leadership. There was a committee was appointed which is called as SEP committee, and just a couple of days back this committee has submitted its final report to the state government, to the Congress government or the Siddaramaiah government. Now let us look at some of the recommendations of this SEP committee. Now under this SEP policy, under this state education policy, the committee has recommended that there shall be only two languages. There shall be only two languages in the state. Which are those languages? The first one is obviously the English language. The other one is the mother language of the children. Mother language of the children. Mother language in the state of Karnataka is obviously the regional language, which is Kannada. For the 99% of students studying in Karnataka, Kannada is their mother language, right? So earlier, before this, when Karnataka was implementing the national education policy, at that time under NEP, the state was following a three-language formula. Under this three-language formula, the three languages which were allowed were, the first one is English, the second one is the regional language, which obviously is Kannada, and the third language is either Hindi or any foreign language. This was as per the NEP. Now the state government is now replacing this NEP with the state education policy. Now under the state education policy, we are going to implement in the state of Karnataka only two languages, which will be a medium of instruction for all the subjects, right? So this is with respect to the languages. Now let us look at point number 2, which is of utmost importance. Point number 2, now the SEP, the state education policy, which was submitted by Sukhdev Thorat committee, it has also recommended that the formula for school education should include 2 years of pre-primary education, as in LKG and UKG, pre-primary education, then 8 years of elementary education, which means from 1st standard to 8th standard, a child will be taught with the basics, with the elements, the elementary level subjects will be taught to all the children in the state of Karnataka. And the 4 years, the focus would be on secondary education, which means that from 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, all these entire levels of education will be combined with a single purely government oriented syllabus and the portion. So this is what has been planned under the state education policy of our Karnataka. This is point number 2, which you'll have to remember. Now let us look at the third most important point. The third most important point deals with the scrapping of NCERT books. Now the state government and the state education policy does not entertain NCERT books anymore. It will not entertain NCERT books or syllabus. Instead of these NCERT books and syllabus, what the state education policy is recommending is that the syllabus will be planned in such a way that state specific syllabus will now be introduced at the school level education. This is point number 3, which you'll have to keep in your mind. Now, earlier in the NEP era, we used to focus more on NCERT's books. NCERTs as in the books which are recommended by the board of CBSE, the books which have been curriculized by the central government. Now, in place of these NCERT syllabus, NCERT books, these books will be replaced by those books which are specifically dedicated to the state specific issues, state specific knowledge. Is that understood? So these are the major points from the government exam perspective which you'll have to keep in your mind with respect to Sukhdev Thorat committee as well as state education policy, right? So I hope all the points are clear. Let us go to the next topic. Right, the next topic is about cloud burst. Recently, in the state of Himachal Pradesh, in an area called as Uttarakashi in Uttarakhand, in the state of Uttarakhand, in Uttarakashi, there was a cloud burst. Now, let us try and understand what this cloud burst is. Cloud burst is an atmospheric phenomena. It is related to your geography. As per the Indian Meteorological Department, as per the IMD, please keep this thing in mind. This is a department which deals with forecasting weather updates. What do you understand by that? When I use the word forecasting weather updates, please understand it is the responsibility of IMD to forecast monsoons and also many natural phenomena like heat waves, cold waves, cloud bursts, and also declare tsunamis, forecast tsunamis and earthquakes. All these natural disaster or natural phenomena will be predicted and forecasted by this department called as Indian Meteorological Department. Now please keep this thing in your mind that this Indian Meteorological Department comes under the Ministry of Earth Science, right? These are the important facts which you'll have to keep in your mind. Now let us look at the phenomenon of cloud burst. Now the IMD has declared, the IMD has said that when do we call a phenomenon as a cloud burst? Now it has certain parameters to declare if the situation is a cloud burst situation or no. So let us look at those parameters. There are some conditions which a particular incident has to cover in order for it to be declared as a cloud burst. Now which are those? Now as per IMDb and as per the IIT Kharagpur, both the IMD as well as IIT Kharagpur, they have set certain parameters which if that event qualifies, then it will be declared as a cloud burst. Now what cloud burst is? Cloud burst is nothing but if 10 centimeters of rain falls on 1 square kilometer of area for a very short time, as in for an hour, for an hour. Now, if these conditions are fulfilled, then that particular event will be called as cloudburst. Is that understood? So these are the basic parameters which that event has to qualify in order for it to be declared as a cloudburst. That is point number 1. Now let us look at point number 2. Now what are the conditions? What actually happened on that fateful day in Uttarakashi in the state of Uttarakhand? Let us look into that. Now we know that Uttarakashi is present near the mountains, and presently India is undergoing southwest monsoon season. So the monsoon cycle over there is very much active, right? So what actually happened over there is that the moist bearing southwest monsoon wind slowly made their way towards these mountains, right? So when they move towards the mountains, with the effect of these height, these southwest monsoon winds, they started ascending slowly upwards. And when they ascended upwards, due to condensation, there was a very strong and thick cloud formation over here. Now in this thick cloud, the kind of cloud which formed over there is known as cumulonimbus cloud. Cumulonimbus cloud. Now please understand, these clouds are very large clouds. They reach from, the extent of that cloud is somewhere around 20 to 30 kilometers. They stretch towards an entire area of 20 to 30 kilometers. They are very large clouds. Now, with the ascent of these southwest monsoon winds upwards, the formation of cumulonimbus clouds was a possibility in this region. Now, due to the orographic effect of the mountain region, as the clouds ascended, there was a fall of rainfall in this region, a sudden fall of rainfall in that region. And due to the rise in rainfall in that region, the waters, it started flowing downwards. Now, on this way, the waters also passed and collected a lot of debris and silt with it. These debris and silt, when they made their made their path downwards, they came towards the areas which were heavily populated by the human population. And I hope you guys are aware what happened next, right? There are a lot of videos in the social media which have amply demonstrated the effects of this effect in that region. So this is what happened scientifically and geographically in that region, and that is why cloudbursts have happened in that area. Now please understand, cloudbursts is not very uncommon to the country of India. No, especially in the hilly regions of the northern plains or the northern parts of our country, cloudbursts is a very common phenomena. Now let us look at what the government should do in order to tackle these cloudbursts in the first place. Now there are 3 measures. One is the short term, the other one is mid term, and the other one is long term. For the short term measures, what the government could have done is that it could have forecasted the cloudburst scenario in that place a bit earlier, and with that knowledge, it could have vacated people from those areas. If the government, if the local authorities, as well as the local people, if they had left that place earlier, then the possibility of loss of human life could have been avoided. The loss of human life could have been avoided. This is a short-term measure. So that is why we will have to improve more on our forecasting ability. That is point number 1, which you'll have to keep in your mind. Now let us look at some mid-term solutions. The mid-term solution should focus on developing infrastructure in those cloudburst prone areas, right? The infrastructure should be improved. Infrastructure should be resilient as in all the buildings or the hotels or the restaurants or whatever the buildings which were a part of human habitation, they should be built in such a way that it should withstand the flow of cloud burst in that region. Say for example, if they can also have constructed a lot of reservoirs in the area, right? Construction of reservoirs as in the excess flow of water can be stored in areas called as reservoirs. If the excess water would have been stored in some areas, then that cloud burst scenario, the after effects of that cloud burst scenario could have been avoided, or could have built barrages. Barrages are nothing but they are infrastructure tools to navigate or stop the excess flow of water, right? These barrages, they could have solved the problem through building channels, right? Channels to divert the excess water from the areas of cloudburst. That would have been the solution. Now after that, let us look at the long-term solutions. The long-term solutions involving the local people, the local authorities, involving the local people and spreading awareness about cloud bursts, involving the local people, the local administrative authorities, involving them and spreading the awareness about cloud bursts among them. And it also involves training these local people to face such situations as cloud bursts. And long-term solution also involves formulating a national cloudburst policy, a national cloudburst policy. It also involves investing and helping IMD, our Indian Meteorological Department, investing in IMD to improve their forecasts, right? To improve their forecasts. So these are the solutions. These are the long-term solutions which the government could have actually taken. Now the time is still not gone, right? There is no point in crying over spilt milk. Now, at least now the government, the local authorities, the local people can wake up and they can implement such solutions in order to deal with the problem of cloudburst. We still do not have a national policy on cloudburst. Now the government can invite scientists, local people with the local knowledge as well as academicians, and formulate a national cloudburst policy which will deal accurately with this phenomenon called as cloudburst, right? So I hope this point is clear, this topic is clear. Now let us go to the next topic, right? So in the first week of August, last week of July as well as first week of August, India's trade policy with respect to US administration has nosedived, and the reason behind that is that Mr. Trump, Donald Trump of America, the President of America, has imposed tariffs on India. On the first day, he had imposed 25% tariffs on Indian goods which are exported to the shores of America. Then within 24 hours, he again declared another 25% tariffs on Indian goods which were again shipped to the shores of USA. So that together makes the total tariffs applicable to India up to 50%. Now please keep this thing in your mind. Indian goods are one of the highest tariff imposed goods by US administration. Many countries, many developing countries which are in line with the Indian government, like say for example Brazil, the goods coming from Brazil and the goods coming from Indonesia, the goods coming from South Africa, all these countries, the goods from these countries which are going to the USA are not imposed or are not subjected to such higher tariffs as the US government has imposed on India. Is that understood? Now why? Let us look at the reason behind the Trump administration imposing such sanctions on India. The logic number one which the Trump government is saying is that it wants India. The reason behind imposing tariffs on India is that the Trump administration wants India to restrict and reduce its oil imports from Russia. That is the logic number one behind Trump administration's imposition of tariffs on Indian goods. That is point number one. The point number two is that Indian government is very much protective. Indian government is very much protective to its market, which means the Indian government is not allowing American goods, specifically those goods which are related to agriculture, fisheries, and dairy products. These products which are coming from USA are not allowed in India. The sale of these products from American industry are not allowed in India in order to in order that India will be pressurized to open its market to these three major products coming from American industry. In order to pressurize India to open its market for the American products of these categories into India, the US administration is imposing tariffs on India, right? It wants to impose tariffs and pressurize India to open up its market to American goods, specifically targeting the agriculture sector, the fisheries sector, as well as the dairy sector. These are the three important sectors which the American government wants Indian government to open up its market to American goods, right? So these are the two logics which have been put forward by the Trump administration to impose the Trump tariffs on India. Now let us look at the drawbacks. What drawbacks does India face with this tariff? Now please keep this thing in your mind. America is the fifth largest trading partner of India, right? Almost 20%, not exactly, but somewhere around 20% of India's exports, total exports, are consumed by the country of USA, right? So if the tariffs are imposed on 20% of India's exports, don't you think all the Indian goods which are going into USA, they will lose their competitive edge? Which means competitive edge, which means goods coming from other countries which are much more cheaper than Indian goods, they will get market access to it. Say for example, goods coming from South Korea, right? The same goods which are exported from India and those goods which are also exported from the South Korea, due to the rate competitive edge, what do you think? The goods coming from South Korea, Bangladesh, Vietnam, from all these countries, they will now slowly start capturing the market which was earlier India's market. Is that understood? So this is one of the biggest drawbacks when it comes to the Trump tariff. Now what India can do? Many academicians and experts have now given a suggestion saying that India will have to diversify its export market. Point number one, India has to diversify its export market, as in India can now look beyond USA. India has to look beyond USA to sell its goods, to sell its exports. Say for example, India can have a partnership with like-minded countries like Brazil, and it can also diversify its trade and include Philippines into it. Philippines, right? Philippines, no, right? I mean, the trading partners of India will have to be diversified. Now, the goods which we were selling to the USA can now be sold to some other countries as well, right? Is that understood? This is what a suggestion which has been given a lot by many experts and academicians, right? So this is with respect to this topic. I hope everything is clear. Let us go to the next topic. The next topic is about India and Philippines partnership relationship. So recently, the president of Philippines, Mr. Ferdinand Jr. had visited the country of India. During his visit, a lot of trade talks went on, and keeping in view of the talks between both the countries, the leaders of both the countries, now the relationship between India and Philippines has been upgraded to the strategic partnership at the strategic partnership level. Strategic which means this relationship between India and Philippines will also now involve the collaboration in the field of maritime, in the field of defense, and also include space technology. So now the strategic partnership, the meaning of this strategic partnership is that India and Philippines have upgraded their relationship and are now moving towards collaborations in the field of maritime security, maritime as in the related to seashores as well as the oceans, the water bodies which are surrounding the body polity of these countries, right? So it involves maritime security, and then it also involves defense, and it also involves space technology. And now please let us try to understand the point that India is now slowly emerging as a space power, space technology power. With the prowess of ISRO in space technology, India is slowly evolving into a space power. Now with this potential in India, now Philippines is now looking to have a collaboration with respect to space technology with India. That you'll have to keep in your mind. This is space technology. Now, with respect to defense, please understand, Philippines is the first country. Philippines is the first country which had actually imported, which had actually buyed or procured the BrahMos missile from India. BrahMos missile. Now, keeping this thing in mind, the defense ties between both the countries have also evolved. Now, let us look at the other point, which is maritime security. Recently, both in the navies of both the countries have held a joint exercise, naval exercise, joint naval exercise in which part of the world? In South China Sea, in the South China Sea. Right? So both the countries, with respect to maritime security, both recently, just a couple of days before this, elevating this partnership to a strategic partnership, the navies of both the countries, the Indian Navy as well as the Navy of Philippines, they had actually conducted a joint naval exercise in a region called as South China Sea, which is a border with the sea which is bordering the countries of Philippines as well as China and Taiwan. Right? So in that sensitive zone, the navies of both the countries have had a joint collaboration. This you'll have to keep in your mind. Now, why is India warming up to Philippines? That you'll have to first understand. Right? You'll have to understand that why India now is warming up with Philippines. Now, please understand, Philippines, like India, does not have a very good and strong relationship with China. So please understand, there is this famous English dictum which says that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So which means we have a common enemy in the form of China. Now, since China is an enemy of both the countries, both the countries can collaborate together in order to face a monster like China. So this is the logic behind India warming up to Philippines and Philippines warming up to India. Now there is a strategy by China. China follows a strategy of string of pearls. Now the string of pearls, under this string of pearls, what China is actually doing is that it is trying to build naval bases encircling the country of India. Say for example, it is now planning to have a naval command at Gwadar in Pakistan. Gwadar in Pakistan, then Trichonmali or Hambantota in Sri Lanka, then another Chittagong base in Bangladesh. Now please keep this thing in mind. All these bases, all these naval bases are being built keeping in mind the presence of the country of India in the region. Now it wants to strangulate the growth of Indian influence in the region of Indian Ocean, and that is why in order to surveillance as well as monitor and restrict the growth of India in the South Asian region, the China is implementing string of pearls theory. Now India is not going to keep quiet and just take a beating from China. It has on the contrary challenged this string of pearls theory of China with its own theory, with its own strategic planning, and policy, and that policy specifically is known as necklace of diamonds. Necklace of diamonds. Now under this policy, please keep in mind this is an Indian policy. This is an Indian policy that is launched to counter the Chinese string of pearls strategy. Chinese string of pearls strategy. Now under this necklace of diamonds, what Indian government or the Indian think tank is doing is that it is constructing naval bases encircling the Chinese sphere of influence. Say for example, India is now planning a naval base in the country of Iran. Specifically in Iran, it is looking at Chabahar port in Iran. In the country of Iran, it is looking at Chabahar port. Then it is also looking at Seychelles. Seychelles is a country, it is an island nation which is present in the Indian Ocean, and India is looking to develop another naval base in the country of Seychelles. Then after that, it is also looking at development of naval bases in countries of Indonesia and Philippines as well. Right? So this is the theory, this is the strategy, this is the policy which the Indian government has planned to counter China's string of pearls strategy to strangulate India. Right? I hope everything is clear about this issue from your government exams perspective. Let us go to the next topic. The next topic is about sports. In the sports section, recently there was a 5-match test series. Please keep this thing in your mind. This is test series. Test series as in the matches were played in test format. Test format actually takes place for 5 days. For 5 days, and each side will be playing 2 innings, right? Both the sides, India and England, will be given 2 innings. First innings, second innings, and first innings and second innings. So each side will be playing two innings in these intervening 5 days. Now please keep this thing in your mind. This series, which was a 5-match affair, was drawn actually. Why it was drawn? Is that because in these 5 matches, 2 matches were won by England and 2 matches were won by India, and the other one match was drawn. One match was drawn. This you'll have to keep in your mind. Now, with both the sides winning two matches, the series was evenly balanced and hence it was drawn. The match was drawn. And also, please keep this another thing in your mind. This 5-match series was earlier called as, the name of this series was Pataudi Trophy. Manzoor Ali Khan Pataudi Trophy. But this year, this trophy, the name of this trophy was changed and it was renamed as Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. Is that understood? I hope everything is clear. Now in this series, the player of the series from England side was Harry Brook. Harry Brook was the player of the series from England side, and from the Indian side it was Shubman Gill. Shubman Gill was the player of the series from Indian side. These are the facts which you'll have to keep in your mind, and please understand this series is drawn for the second time. This series was drawn. This was played in the country of England. Now this series is played every year, right? So once it is played in India, then again the next year it is played in England. So now again, since this year it was played in England, now next year it will be played in India. So when last time when both these teams met for this Pataudi Trophy, it was the series was held in India and that was won by India 4-1. This year it was held in England and it was drawn. Now this is not the first time India has drawn this series in England. No, the last time when India visited England for this trophy, then also India had drawn the series 2-2. This you'll have to keep in your mind. So this is with respect to the sports section. Right? So this ends my session. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. Thank you so much for being a part of Classic Education.